Page 106, the Riddle. At the top of page 106, they talk about the B-flat major scale. The B-flat major scale is simple enough. It has two flats, a B-flat and an E-flat. What you can do is you can play the scale from, let's say, B to B, go from the letter to the letter, and you simply stick in the B-flat and E-flat, and you've got the scale. So instead of a B, we got to go to B-flat. So we'll go to B-flat to B-flat. So we do B-flat, now E-flat, remember, not E-flat, and you get a B-flat major scale. That's how it really works. In the book, they introduce it in tetrachords. It's another way of looking at it. In my mind, it just complicates it a little more, but I'll explain it just the same. Tetrachord, tetra means four. So tetrachord is four note. And what they want you to do is they want you to start and play the first four notes of the scale. I'm going to go up here. And then the next four notes of the scale. And that's it. You got two tetrachords. And the idea is you get a whole step, half step for each tetrachord. Then you simply separate the tetrachords with a whole step. So if I go whole step, half step, that's the first tetrachord. Then I skip over one whole step and start whole step, half step. That's the second tetrachord. That's what they're doing. In my mind, that just complicates it all the more, but if you like to look at things from different angles, this is another angle to look at it. I would encourage you to go do my scale video on B-flat major. Do the intermediate part, the 2 octaves. They show the fingering for 1 octave on page 106, and I like their fingering very much because in the right hand, they're showing it starting on 4th finger on that B-flat. Because that's the finger that typically plays B-flat in a B-flat scale. So you're starting there and then come under with the thumb. See, a lot of people, because they think, well, it's just the starting note, they're just going to use 2nd finger or something because it's easier. Use the finger you're going to use on the scale. Same thing with the left hand. They show the 3rd finger on the B-flat and then a thumb. That's because the 3rd finger plays the B-flat in the scale. And I like that very much, yes. Now, for this piece, the riddle, I'll bring out a few minor little details and we'll see what happens. Starting with the right hand. You see at the beginning of this, at the bottom of page 106, where you got all these F's. Isn't that fun? Oh boy. This is a slow piece. You want to play them all with the thumb. It's up to you, but I tend to alternate 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'll start with thumb, and then the next 4 is a 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2, 1. Experiment with it and see what you think. At the top of page 107, because there's a black note involved, they're starting with thumb on the black note. It forces your hand up near the fall board. It's probably easier in that case just to use 2nd finger for all those C's there in the 2nd measure. Just know that the 2nd finger plays the D in the next measure. Page 107, 2nd line, 1st measure. First notes with the 4th finger. Bring the 3rd finger down to the D so you can get the next ones. And then this is the same thing as you just had, and then at the end, it's the end, and that's fine, we're good to go. Follow their fingering is fine, it's okay. In the left hand, same thing. Follow their fingering, it's fine, it's okay, it's no biggie. At the top of page 107, in the 2nd measure, look out, we got 2 voices going here. You got the FA. The A is a half note. You're going to hold it down while you play the E flat, and then you can go on. So be sure and do that. Don't care that the pedal's down. You got to hold it down with the fingers just the same. Speaking of pedal, the pedaling they're doing is okay. It sort of works. It's a little mushy in places, but it's okay. Just a couple things I want to point out, and that is the phrasing. I want to hear the phrasing. For instance, at the top of page 107 in the 1st measure, would like to hear a break before the B flat in the right hand. Well, then the pedal's got to come up right before you play it. or you don't get a break in it. So that measure would be here, pedals down, and then I'll simply lift the pedal with the fingers before I go on. So I get a little bit of silence before I go on. Same thing in the next line. On the second measure, I'm here. Before I play the B flat, I'm going to lift the hands up just this way, and I'm going to lift the pedal up with them. So I get a little bit of silence. Same thing in the next line, last measure. Here, and then. So we get a little silence. Now in the last line on page 107, I don't recommend pedaling the first two measures at all because you get this. For the first measure, second measure, to me that is really ugly and mushy, and it's just out of character for the piece. Because of all these notes going all over, I recommend you not pedal that. Just leave the pedal up. So don't pedal into the last measure of the piece. Like so. That's what I recommend. At the beginning of this piece, they say don't push the pedal down until the first full measure. I disagree, because that pickup note is part of the phrase and we want to connect it, and I can't connect it without the pedal. So I recommend push the pedal down immediately after you play the pickup note, so it's all connected together. Now on some of these measures where you have the right hand with an eighth note, quarter note, eighth note, like at the bottom of page 106 next to the last measure. That measure and page 107, the last measure, the first line, there, and third line down, first measure, like so. I would recommend you don't pedal until you play the quarter note. It just helps to make it a little less blurry. So it's like, go back to page 106 at the bottom, the last two measures, it would be just, I push the pedal down after the B flat in the right hand. Like so. That way it's not quite so blurry. If I do it like they're written, it's that way. That sounds quite different to me, so you might experiment and see. But we just don't want it to be really mushy with the pedal. You have to listen very carefully. Now the fermata at the end, I'm going to hold approximately 3 counts. I can't hold exactly. I'm just going to add another beat to it, really. Because when you repeat, the pickup has to be on the end of a beat. So I'm just going to add an extra beat to the beat and a half that's there. Does it make sense? I don't know. It made sense to me, so whatever. And it is repeated, so we're going to play this twice. First time it's medium loud, second time it's soft. You see the MF-P at the beginning, at the bottom of page 106? That's what it means. So let's try this really, really slowly, and you can speed it up on your own later. It's a 2/4 time. I already said it's in the key of B flat. I'm going to give us 3 eighth notes. I'm going to go ready and go, and like so. So here we go. Right hand, left hand, foot's ready to go. Ready and go. off.